After a toddler was sexually assaulted in Poynette, the perpetrator's name didn't make the sex offender registry, and now the toddler's mom sees that as a miscarriage of justice.
So we're not including the offender's name due to his age at the time of that offense. Our Catherine Merck has the story.
She's in dance. She's just a ball of life.
Brianna Klein's daughter Blake is your typical 3-year-old.
Like the definition of the little cheerleader kid, you know?
Her mother would leave her where she thought it was safe, her babysitter's home.
Blake was all for it. Blake adored her.
One day last January, after a day of babysitting, this child's passing thought would eventually turn into a police investigation.
And she's like, oh, we did this craft. And she was showing me the pictures. And she's like, and we baked together. And she was telling me all the things they did. And then she literally just, like, in the middle of a conversation, no thought about it, she's like, and then took me to his bed.
The court records tell the story. We're choosing not to say the graphic details of the child's story on TV. The perpetrator said he'd been walked in on during a sexual act. Brianna called the police and took her child to a doctor.
She got a rape kit done. They found fluid on her stomach and her vagina. They told me it would be a while before I got the results. I think it was almost a year later.
The results were enough evidence to charge the 17-year-old with first-degree child sexual assault, sexual contact with the child under 13. Then came the plea deal, a Class D and F felony instead, and a deferred prosecution agreement. He got 6 months in jail and 5 years probation.
My child has been trying to heal for longer than you're trying to put him in jail.
It's not just the sentence that's upset this mother. It's the fact that he isn't a registered sex offender.
I'm pushing for the sex offender registry. I'm like, I feel like that's the most important.
Prosecuting child sexual assault cases can be difficult and leave many, including Brianna, unsatisfied.
I feel like sex offenders get a lot less punishment than other crimes.
News 3 Now Investigates asked the district attorney involved in this case and an unaffiliated attorney that works with child sexual assault cases about why this happened. The 3-year-old victim's ability to take the stand is one factor.
Even if the child is able to tell their whole story and the jury comes back and says not guilty, or if the child gets up there and freezes and can't say anything and we have to dismiss because we can't prove it, we get nothing.
Mentally, physically, emotionally, like we could not ask her to do that after everything she's already been through.
Another significant part of the case includes the offender's age.
Despite the fact that 17-year-olds are considered adults in our criminal justice system, they're not considered adults in any other capacity.
For someone who is 18 years old to now have a felony conviction for the rest of their life is pretty significant.
It's a problem many victims of child sex crimes can speak to. This mother feels her daughter wasn't given justice.
I've heard that from victims in other cases before. It seems like the defendant has more rights than I do. Why do they get more protections than I do? And that's a difficult conversation that we have to have sometimes, you know, and I don't expect victims to understand that.
Prosecutors point out the sex offender registry isn't legally a form of punishment and comes with other drawbacks.
Putting somebody on the list, you're basically limiting their opportunities to participate in society. Do we want to knock them out being able to go to college if that's what his trajectory is, or going to trade school, or getting a job?
The district attorney says he could end up on the list in the future if he breaks the conditions of his deferred prosecution agreement. As for this 3-year-old, her mother says she doesn't want another child's initial passing thought to eventually leave another parent feeling unsatisfied.
I'm terrified to see his name in a newspaper again next to another little girl's name because nobody listened.
We reached out to the offender's attorney asking for comment. In part of his statement, he told us this: the offender was treated appropriately by the criminal justice system, which exists to rehabilitate people, not to lock them up and throw away the key. Brianna Klein's mother told us her daughter is still in therapy after the January 2022 assault.